My name is Christina Urson, and I'm the founder of Bayo. As a stage 4 breast cancer patient, one of the things that we talk a lot about is just tips and tricks for breast cancer and breast cancer survivors and people going through breast cancer. But one of the things that we don't often talk about is the support system that comes alongside that cancer patient. And those people need help too, because it's a learning curve for them too. And so to have that conversation, I brought two of my best friends who have walked this journey with me for almost 4 years. And honestly, we've learned a lot together. So this is Jackie Morales, and this is Jessica Wade. Where I wanted to start with you guys, because not only was my life changed overnight, but you know, it impacted you guys too. And so, what were your initial thoughts when you heard about the cancer diagnosis, and, how, your thoughts on what you maybe thought would be helpful that maybe wasn't helpful, and then maybe things that you didn't know would be helpful that you later found out were helpful? And so, Jackie, do you want to start?
Yeah. So whenever I first found out, about your cancer diagnosis, I was kind of in shock. It wasn't something I'd ever experienced with anyone in my life before, and anyone being diagnosed with cancer. And so I was actually at work. Jessica and I were working together, and it was just kind of a really shocking moment for the both of us. I think we hugged and cried, and then decided we were just going to be with you throughout this entire process, however that looked like. Initially your gut instinct in that moment is when you hear your friend hurting is to lift them up and to pick them up and to encourage them. But I think we quickly found out that sometimes that wasn't always the right step. Right. So
I know I would agree too, because, for me, hearing it was like, I just, I was in shock, but at the same time, I immediately wanted to be there for you, but I think it was more like, how do we be there for her? Like, what are the steps? And like Jackie said, you just immediately go to the encouragement, like everything is going to be fine.
You're going to get through this.
Yes. Yeah. But at the same time, the news being so shocking to you, that's not always a realistic way of approaching it.
Yeah, I think we learned as like walking through the journey with like different news that would come up and different diagnoses and stuff, that sometimes just sitting with you in the bad news was more what you needed in that moment, and it wasn't always pick you up and drag you out of it. Sometimes just letting it be and validating those feelings of like scared and uncertainty and worry that you had was more meaningful to you. And then when you were ready and were able to get out all of those emotions, then we could pick you up and help you along the way.
Exactly. A lot of times we don't initially know what we need in the beginning, but as we were going like through the journey, then I could articulate, I need X, Y, and Z. And so I would just encourage cancer patients when they have their support system to articulate that. Because a lot of times I found, especially in the beginning with the two of you, is people want to help you, but they just don't know how.
Right.
And, they think, like you guys were saying, show up, it'll be good. And I'm like, well, everything hurts,
We were going to appointments with you, and it became quickly apparent that you weren't in a mental capacity to really take on the information that the doctor was sharing with you. And so something I did, I started bringing a notebook and I started taking notes for you. Sometimes I would record it on my phone, or I would have the phone available for your parents to listen in. But the notes, I think, really helped, because after you left that appointment, your ears were kind of numb to everything that they were saying to you, because it was just information overload, that we could really talk through things. And then I also did a lot of research on my own, just to get a better understanding of what your diagnosis was, to then better prepare questions to ask. Because I have found, even lately with appointments, it's like you're getting the information and then you leave and you think, why didn't I ask that? And so
in the beginning of this, when you were talking about showing, it's important to show up. It is so heavy for some people. When I was first diagnosed, when I was working, I would walk down the hallway and people would see me walking towards them and pivot so they wouldn't have to walk past me, you know? And everyone got all weird and everyone got all...
I think that's really because people don't know what to say. Like,
Yeah.
saying you're going to be
Yes.
okay or it's going to be fine just feels like an empty platitude. Like, it's not like something that, you know, you really have the right words. But that's something I learned from you by asking, like, what can they say? And so maybe this is helpful to other people, of just saying, like, I love you, I'm here for you,
And I'm sorry.
and I'm sorry. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be a solution. And I think, you know, we talked about at the beginning, that's kind of like people's go-to is to offer the words of encouragement. You're going to be all right. You're going to get through this. But sometimes that's not what you need to hear.
And sometimes that doesn't happen.
And sometimes it doesn't happen. And so then you feel like you're just filling them with empty promises that you have no way of knowing if they're going to be true or not. And that's scary. And it feels, you know, maybe too raw and honest to say, like, it might not happen.
But to take the pressure off, like, you guys were never going to have the words that made me be like, oh my gosh, like, everything's okay now. Like, I can do it. And so I love you, I'm sorry, and I'm here is all you need to say. And then you don't have to say anything else. Literally just sit in silence with them. That's okay. You know, but you're never going to be like, tell that cancer patient that thing that makes them feel like, you know, dun, 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 dun.
Yes, those are the perfect words.
I know.
because if there were the perfect words, somebody would have written them down and we would all know
Exactly.
them by now. It would be some great kept secret. So.
Right. Oh,
Well,
this is
I've
good.
just been so appreciative of the two of you throughout my journey, and honestly, I don't know that I would have gotten as far, you know. And so, if you don't have, you know, a Jackie or a Jess, you know, like we were saying, find a therapist, find a breast cancer support group, because this is such a heavy journey. You can't do it alone. And so we hope that you have found some helpful tips and tricks. If you have a friend or a loved one that is newly diagnosed, that you feel like empowered by some of the things that they said, that you can take it and apply it to walking with your loved one. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to providing you with future content.